Hey, Randy Joe here, and welcome back to the channel where today we are going to be checking out the brand new, highly anticipated Black Country New Road LP, Forever Howlong. Also, before we get into today's video, I just want to say if you want to watch this full reaction unedited, for only $5 a month, you get all my videos from pretty much earlier this year, February or so onward, fully unedited for $5. So you can watch this one unedited for only $5. You get the full album as well as hearing my nonsensical ramblings throughout. If that sounds interesting to you for $5, please check it out. This is recorded after I heard it, and I just want to say I do like this record, so you're not throwing away your money on a video where I'm negative. I do have a lot of very positive things to say about this LP, so check it out. But back to the main video here. Now, this is the third LP from Black Country New Road, at least in terms of studio LPs. They did release a Live at Bush Hall album just a couple of years ago that showed off the potential of the band without their previous frontman, Isaac Wood, which, seeing as I have the two previous LPs behind me, you would gather that I am a fan of this band, which is certainly correct, because Ants From Up There is not only, in my opinion, a perfect album, an album that I consider a 10 out of 10, but I would even go as far to say that it is in my top 10 albums of all time. And I don't say that lightly. I have listened to over 1,000 albums at this point, I would say, in my life. And Ants From Up There is certainly, in my opinion, one of the best I've ever heard, personally. But today we're checking out Forever Howlong, where Isaac Wood has departed the band, and we see the focus shifting from a male perspective onto a female perspective, seeing as this album includes 3 female vocalists that cover much of the tracks. Those female vocalists being Tyler Hyde, Mae Kershaw, and Georgia Ellery. And personally, I am impartial to Mae's vocals. I think she's a great vocalist, so I can't wait to hear what she brings to the table. But even still, all 3 of them are great vocalists, and I am very excited to jump into the album. So let's not waste any more time. I've already yapped a little too much on this intro, but 52 minutes, 15 seconds, 11 tracks. Let's jump into Forever Howlong, the opening track here, Besties, which, by the way, was the lead single from this LP, the first track to drop. And at first, I was not huge, on it, was not over the moon about it, but as time has gone on, I have listened to this thing well over a dozen times, and I do think it is a great track and a great opener. So let's get into it. Besties, kicking it off, but the rest of the LP will be first listen. But this one, already a fan, and the drop that's about to happen, very whimsical. Oh, there it is. A very whimsical sound. Very sweet, wholesome opening track right off the bat. Lyrically, a track about, loving your best friend. Perhaps this love is deeper than something that is platonic. Perhaps there's a romantic interest here. Very sweet. Very cute. And the title drop. So slick with that drop. Very full production while still being quite subdued. It doesn't feel like it is too overblown in the mix, which, I think certainly works here. Feels very fleshed out. I love her crescendo there. And I love this outro as we... Oh. So sweet, so beautiful, so wholesome. Definitely feels like this is a romantic interest. At least that's how I interpret it. And as we get to this third, kind of section of the track, it feels like it goes even more grand in scale, especially with that massive drop. This is Georgia, by the way. I didn't point out, but she's a great vocalist, and certainly I feel like swings the album right open with just a huge sound. The classic low-brow lyricism there of Black Country. And that's it for Besties. A great opener. Feels quite massive in its sound, and definitely continues a lot of the sort of indie, kind of folk-inspired chamber pop elements, that maybe were teased on Ants From Up There, especially chamber pop on this one, really coming through. Wouldn't really say that was on Ants From Up There. The folk-inspired instrumentation certainly coming through strong, I would say, on this one. Just a great evolution of the band. Let's keep it going. The next track here is, I believe, The Big Spin, if I'm not mistaken. That is. This one sung by May, which, big fan of what she brought to the table with their LP Live at Bush Hall. Let's hear it. I have not heard the rest of the album. I have not heard going forward, even the singles that dropped. I think I listened to Happy Birthday once, but other than that, I stayed clear from it. I wanted to hear it all fresh, so this is all new. Oh. This one's interesting. The structure is not at all predictable. With that tension that was rising there for a moment, I thought it was going to have a bigger splash to its sound, but it was like a gentle kind of, bringing forward in its sound. It wasn't nearly as much of a drop as I thought. Not a bad thing, just kind of catching me off guard, but I'm loving what I'm hearing here. May, she's got a very dramatic sort of pained vocal delivery. Certainly a very whimsical, childlike sound. Oh! Damn. By far one of the most unpredictable tracks I think I've heard from Black Country New Road. Every time I feel like I'm kind of falling into the pocket of the sound, it switches up ever so slightly instrumentally. Just certainly catching me off guard. Love that one. Just a quick 2.5 minute track that again continues that indie sort of Arcade Fire-esque sound, very folk inspired, like I said previously, but again, lots of chord changes, lots of switch ups, really catches you off guard, doesn't let you settle too much in that 2.5 minutes. I would say a challenging listen. I do think structurally it is certainly more unique than what I've come to expect from them. I like it. I'm very intrigued by it. I will say I do think, even though I'm a huge diehard fan, I do think this will be a grower of an LP, because even Ants From Up There didn't initially hit me as hard as it did on repeated listenings, which is when I really grew fond of it and realized the genius that is there. I do think that Black Country New Road is a band that requires multiple listenings to fully appreciate just what they're doing and how much they're doing at once. And The Big Spin, definitely a challenging listen, I would say. Certainly not an instant, hitting you over the head kind of sound, but very intriguing. And May, great vocals. Love what she brings to the table. Here is Socks. I'm going to assume Tyler Hyde is singing on this one, given the fact that we opened with Georgia and then went on to May. So here's Tyler, also a great vocalist. That is Tyler, for sure. Most definitely. The piano feels more prominent as well throughout this LP. I believe that's May on the piano. Yeah, of course, May. This sound is Charlie Wayne is the drummer here. Very gently setting the stage. Love the shakiness in her vocals. Very theatrical, theater kid energy, as they say. The 5 years had their time, but you sit in a lane much like mine. Oh, this one's a very delicate track. Even this chorus, very slow and gradual. Oh, this is like a warm kind of embrace. We're picking up the pace. Oh, Charlie bashing us there. Oh, here we go. It's like a swirling cacophony of sound. Oh my god. Charlie's drumming here, rapid. Love the kind of off-kilter energy he's bringing here. Also, I want to say Tyler Hyde's voice here. Love that switch up in tone here in the verse 2. She's feeling far more confident with the way she's kind of rattling off these lines. I'm loving it, loving this energy. Definitely feels like the most post-rock-ish sort of track, which obviously, as you know, they kind of kicked off their career with. But here, I'm hearing it. Definitely in its structure. Love the build up we've been gathering here. In dark there comes the light, and we must try with all our might to keep this. Love the sparseness here. We've got that. Oh. Shout out Harrison there. This. Oh my god. This like come down feels very dramatic. This is a very heavy track. I love the steadiness of this part here. Quite a diverse mix. Wow. Oh. I love that outro too. Kind of faltering sound. A very touching, like I was saying, a very touching, beautiful track. I loved that one. I definitely feel like that carries on a lot of the energy, momentum, and style that Isaac Wood brought to the table on Ants From Up There, as well as For the First Time. And I gotta say, Socks is fantastic. On a first listen, I love that one. I feel like I loved the kind of tempo and the playful kind of nature they took with the tempo. Sometimes it was very delicate and kind of withdrawn in its sound. Definitely felt, like some of the mix was less dynamic in sections to really make you appreciate these finer moments. But then as it kind of swirled and kind of came together, just felt very full and again, very post-rock-ish is what I would say was this one. A great use of texture throughout. And Tyler Hyde, even though not my personal necessarily as of right now my favorite vocalist of the three, again impartial to May, I gotta say I did think for a long time that Tyler would be picked as the lead vocalist for the band. Just she has that energy, she has that charisma, and she's got a certain confidence that she brings that I feel like you hear quite a bit on this track. Socks is fantastic is what I'm saying. I loved it. I can't wait to hear this one again and again and again. I feel like this one has some just impeccable energy on it. Here's Salem Sisters continuing. If we're going down the way we've been going, the next one should be a Georgia-led track, but maybe from this point forward we will have a little bit more of a mix. But let's get into Salem Sisters. 3 minutes. Which feels short for a black country track. Again, I love the focus on May's piano work throughout this LP so far. Oh, they're all on this track. Love that rapid plucking. A very rustic sound on this LP. Oh. Such a crisp sound of the instruments on this one too. Oh. Love those soaring moments. Oh my god, Charlie Wayne on those drums. Oh my god. It's like rapid and then slowing it down. What are they doing here? Oh my god, I love what Charlie's bringing to the table here with his drum work. Man, wow. They all sounded great vocally. Tyler Hyde sounds great as ever. Again, I love her charisma that she brings to the table. I love her energy. But specifically, I want to say with this track, really what's jumping at me on first listen was what Charlie was doing on the drums. Just, again, very off-kilter playing I feel like we're getting on this LP. Not much ramping up a sound necessarily, although he certainly does, but not so much in the same way he did on past LPs. And this time he feels maybe a bit more, I would say, kind of jazz influenced in his sound. Not that this sounds like a jazz record at all, but his playing is much more sporadic, feels a little bit more off-kilter, and just loving his energy, loving his playing. Lewis Evans as well, I have not mentioned somehow. Great player of the saxophone throughout their discography, and I feel like he has been a little bit more subdued on this record, which is unfortunate to see. Maybe he's got a more careful and delicate nature throughout this one, but he certainly is there in those soaring moments. So, the band together sound great, sound fantastic. Here is Two Horses continuing. Loving this record, which I'm not too surprised by, but this is Georgia here. Also, before we get further with this track, I just want to say this record is produced by James Ford, who is a well-established, well-known producer at this point. From what I gather, he was working on this record for weeks on end to try to get it to sound as crisp as possible. Some people don't really seem to love the production from what I read online, but personally, I think what he's doing here certainly sounds great. It certainly feels very rustic and kind of old-timey in its sound. It feels like we are being brought back in time to a very playful, sweet, and kind of innocent period. And I think James Ford production is, to thank for that. So, let's keep it going. I just wanted to shout him out. Oh, I don't think they've ever whistled on the track. This is interesting. I love the guitar work we've been getting. Sounds like a lutes or something. It's a mandolin by Georgia. This is a very sweet track. It's reminding me of George Harrison, I would say. Oh, there's Lewis. He's certainly more subdued than normal. Ooh. A very kind of majestic rise here. A handsome fella. Perhaps a little bit of Love Struck here. Oh. This track is gorgeous. Oh my god. It's reminding me of we're picking up the pace here. This is reminding me of a plethora of artists from the 60s and 70s. But the Beatles, George Harrison specifically, Pink Floyd as well to an extent. Loving the kind of country twang on this one. But here, speaking on a love and interest, she's putting her faith in this man. Perhaps this is to be seen from the perspective of a different time, maybe of the past, where there was far more reliance on this man in the relationship. But with these lines speaking about knives and alcohol abuse, it would seem, I'm expecting a darker turn. But let's keep it going, especially with the track seeming more tense with its pace. I love Lewis here. I was wondering where he's been. He kind of flies alongside it all. The energy on this track is impeccable. Oh my god. Oh yeah. As we could see. Brutal. What the? I also just want to say, quickly say, if this was done during the period of, for the first time, I think the sound would be more brooding, more dark, more, just evil in tone. But I really enjoy this softer, very dramatic, almost storybook feel that we're bringing. It's very unexpected, and I think that's what I'm enjoying the most here. It's so refreshing. I don't know if I've heard many bands that sound like this, yet I can hear influences. And I love the storytelling on this track. Impeccable. Just a great track. Wow. A very disturbed and sad tale that seems to be one of maybe putting too much dependence on another, and the I guess the fault of that, maybe it's a critique on, you know, social norms of male and female relationships. Loved it. Loved what we heard. Really, again, I want to say, you know, these tracks are, you know, this one was 6 minutes. Socks also 6 minutes. They both had the same kind of post-rock feel to them, where lots of change in, you know, sounds and dynamics, and just kind of scale as well. Again, reminding me of what they've done in the past, but packing it all into 6 minutes, which is very impressive, because it never feels too jarring in its change, and I think you know, the cohesiveness is really what makes this record feel so fluid, yet it's still very packed in its time. You know, it's not like Basketball Shoes on here. 12 minutes, one of the greatest tracks I've ever heard. Incredible, beautiful song. It is 12 minutes though. It takes its time in its build. This, it doesn't take its time, yet it still delivers the same you know, scale, I would say, of a grander track such as Basketball Shoes. So just great. Here's Mary. Wow, I'm loving this LP. I just love the sound. It's very distinct, very refreshing, while still not kind of losing the essence of what the band had in the past. Love the rusticness of it. A good album for you know, springtime as well. Has that energy. Love the twanginess of that guitar on the left side here. But she falls flat, they say they're only teasing. Perhaps a track about kind of a trauma, perhaps childhood trauma. I'm not sure. Kind of a sad yet subdued track here. Not as in your face. Oh, vocally there on that screams line felt very dramatic in its pouring out. Got an interesting comparison at the end of this album I'll talk about, but the vibe of this LP and this track, it's very, very interesting. Sounding like a train, perhaps. I think alluding maybe to that opening or that chorus there. The flute. You know what? I was going to save this for the end of the video, but I'll say it now. The vibe that I'm getting on this record reminds me quite heavily of a lot of classic literature that is very kind of romantic, yet a little bit sad or twisted in tone, typically from a female perspective, such as the incredible, well-written Little Women, by the way, one of the greatest books ever. Incredible film as well from 2019 specifically, or Emma from Jane Austen. You know, it has that kind of classic literature feel to it, both in the lyrics and the subject matter, and as well as the just sonic palette, feeling very, you know, of that time period. I feel like we are transported back in time to a sense of whimsy that feels coming of age in a sense. Have I not made it clear that I like this record yet? I don't know. Here's Happy Birthday. I listened to this once. I listened to this when it released, and then I stopped because I was like, I'm gonna listen to the album in full when it drops. I gotta withhold myself a little bit here. So this will be essentially still a first listen for me because I don't remember this track too heavily, seeing as I'd only give it one run through. But let's hear it. I believe this was May on the vocals. Yes, it is. May and George. Strong vocal there. Perhaps hopeful for this man's death? I don't know. This sound here feeling kind of rougher. Those guitars more overblown. Love the use of the, I think that's the mandolin still plucking away throughout these tracks. Again, adding to the energy of the LP, the very distinct identity of it. Loving it. As well as the harpsichord we've been hearing throughout the LP. Is this about perhaps critiquing someone who is born into a life of wealth, perhaps? Maybe a critique on nepotism to an extent. Kind of, I would say, poking fun, but also trying to be a little bit sympathetic to an extent, but also saying, like, hey, you've got it made. An interesting track. I like the perspective we're taking on it. I love that line. Happy day on earth. Happy day of birth, no matter where on earth. Love this dramatic come down. There's birds in the background, I think. Oh. Oh my god, this note just fading. Love these backup vocals. So whimsical. Oh, that drop. Like a firm embrace. Loved. Oh. A very interesting perspective on this record, on that track, I should say. It's rather than critiquing or bashing this individual, there seems to be some level of sympathy, but also at the same time, kind of poking fun with some of these lines, such as I really like the line here. How do you see beneath the canopy from your top floor? I think that is a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek line. It's a little cheeky, but it's still trying to lend perhaps a sense of sympathy. I loved it, though. Man, and also the line, let's go back up here, really loved specifically, just because I think it's a sweet line all on its own, happy day of birth, no matter where on earth. That's a fantastic line. Maybe a little cheesy, but I mean, if you're a Black Country New Road fan, are you surprised? You're gonna love a line like that. I certainly do. Here's For the Cold Country. Let's get into it. A little acapella here. Oh, this is May, I believe. Certainly feels like it. She's got that melancholy in her voice. Love this kaleidoscope sound she does. She did it. This sort of circulating delivery of vocals she did on the track Turbines/Pigs. Great track, impeccable, probably the best track off of Live at Bush Hall. And I love this circling sort of sound she does. Oh. A little bit of an uplifting. Oh, I love this verse. It's so wholesome. Love this swirling sound. Very emotional, that section there. It's like a gut punch. So many changes on this record. Loved how we stripped away all the instruments in that whole passage. Just her and a guitar here. Oh my god. Charlie beating on those drums. Getting aggressive. Oh. Oh my god. Bit of a breakdown here. Oh my god. Charlie channeling his Snow Globes era. Wow. Wow. May. What a powerful, circulating kind of whirlwind of a track that was. Again, a very medieval kind of sound that we're getting on this record. Felt more apparent there. I love the way we stripped away the instrumentals before, of course, having this massive pummeling instrumental break with Charlie just destroying his drum set, it sounds like. I will say the only, I guess, negative, I feel like production-wise, James Ford here didn't make it hit nearly as hard as I would have expected. Maybe I've been spoiled by what they did in the past, but I feel like that massive drop and break at the end there could have been done in a way that was even more impactful and even harder hitting. That's my only, I guess, gripe. Maybe in time that'll kind of roll off my back and I'll enjoy it to the extent of a heavier drop like I would on any other track. But I gotta say, still, this is an incredible track. It might be my favorite, even though I just said something somewhat negative about it. But man, I don't even know. I don't even know what track here is my favorite. I'm loving everything I'm hearing. I think May just killed it on that track, and I feel like this is kind of taking what she did on Turbine's Pigs, and I feel like pushing it even further. So Nancy Tries to Take the Night. Also very emotional that one was. I feel like in that one verse that we got, I believe that was verse 3, was just a wholesome, powerful, emotional section of lyrics that to me was really hitting hard. Here's Nancy Tries to Take the Night. think this is the mandolin. Very string focus as well on this LP. A lot of strings at play. This one's taking its time. It's certainly got a lengthy build up here. Such a 2-minute intro. Here's Tyler.
You dress like a cow and you're frolicking round. Your legs are in the air, there's a smile on your flip while there's pain in your stomach and there's pain in your throat. Do you?
Perhaps about a baby. Yeah, it refers to the baby.
Do you want it?
Lewis Evans there on the sax, just kind of cycling around. This track seems to have a heavy theme about pregnancy and about, you know, deciding whether or not to keep the child. Again, taking a very female perspective, of course, on this record. Love the perspective we've got on this track. Oh.
Mother, would you take?
Is that the harpsichord here? I'm not sure. These keys are... Oh! This is very crisp, these drums. Cutting through the mix. I think this is the clearest any instrument to sound on the record. And very apparent. Surprisingly, such a catchy groove this is for a heavy track. This is a great, cohesive, growing sound. Yeah, getting quite suicidal here, this outro.
She's gone, and on if I could take it back now.
A very heavy track.
Nancy took the night time. She's gone.
Perhaps she wow. Very heavy track, very powerful about this character, Nancy, who I would imagine is very relatable for a lot of women. You know, making pros and cons list about whether or not to take her own life after losing a child, it would seem. A child that she was even unsure of if she wanted in the first place, yet it still seems to be, of course, hitting her emotionally after losing this child. It's a powerful track. I feel like there's a lot at play here. Surprisingly upbeat when those drums come in. I feel like it's quite a upbeat, just vibrant sort of track. Very crisp on those drums. Perhaps the clearest the production has ever sounded on the record as well. Not that it's a bad thing. I'm not bashing the rest of the production, but I think it typically goes for a more softer, muddier, altogether sound, where here, with the drums coming in, really catches you off guard, which I think is the point to be made. Incredibly powerful track, and ending it with Nancy took the night and she's gone. I'm wondering, is this pros and cons list she speaks of when deciding her possible suicide, does she go through with it? And that is, where she's gone to. A little bit maybe of an open end for interpretation. A great track, though. A really great track. Lyrically, thematically, one of the heaviest tracks, I would say, they've covered. Here's Forever Howlong, the title track. Let's get into it. 4 minutes, 48 seconds. I think it's May here. quite a heavy imagery.
And the blood rushing out from the cracks in my head, then
Yeah, brutal.
match with the red in the mud and the dark. Overdone routine, the
I think this title track really representing the delicateness of the LP. Oh, again, that very rustic country life tone coming in.
I shall boil some beans. I should get my vitamin B.
Love the accent there coming through on Vitamin.
I watched told me the pH of my gut microbiome was certainly causing my blues.
Perhaps about in this day and age, trying to take anything you can online to understand why you're feeling the way you are, and trying to fix it with these home remedies.
So
Certainly the TikTok age is very apparent.
begins to set.
But perhaps she's just in a deep depression.
Why don't you
This flute work. I believe that's Lewis covering the more brass section. Or woodwind, I guess.
It is only
Closing out the day here. Let's say this is an interesting track. It's maybe the most delicate we've heard so far on the track. It definitely felt like there wasn't as much instrumentally going on, and instead we were focused on the sheer beauty of May's voice. What I thought was interesting, though, was reading the fact that on the collector's edition, this track comes before Nancy Tries to Take the Night, whereas on the regular streaming version, the one we're of course listening to today, Forever Howlong comes after, kind of making this illusion of this day ending and Nancy's beginning, or vice versa. Nancy has her days and then it leads into this one. Just kind of interesting. I thought that was a cool little detail. But other than that, I do think this isn't my favorite track. I do feel like it's more of just a representation maybe of the record's sound. Would have been an interesting opening track, but I don't think it has opening track energy. Maybe that's why it's put at the bottom here. But let's go into Goodbye, Don't Tell Me, the final track here. Let's hear it. Close out the record.
I tap as I talk. I text while I walk to you.
Maybe an infatuation, just excited to see this person.
Tell you I'm here. And I wait by the door up the stairs.
Kind of bookending the record, if that's the case, with Besties.
How I've fallen in love with the feeling. I fell down a hole
Perhaps
at speed.
in love with infatuation.
Went back to the ladies.
Getting that country twang coming in strong.
They kiss me. I've fallen in love with the feeling. I've fallen in
Oh, okay. We're rising up. Oh, that harp is scored in the background. I believe that's what it is. Just embracing us. Oh, that a weird effect there. Felt like we were being sucked through a vacuum. All three vocalists here, building on this outro. And that does it for Goodbye, Don't Tell Me. Also does it for the record, Forever Howlong. Wow. This is the third studio LP, like I said, from Black Country New Road. And I feel like with every album, they completely change and progress their sound and reinvent their sound while still carrying on elements from their previous LP. Forever Howlong, you can certainly say the same, because of course with the departure of Isaac Wood as the main front vocalist of the band, there obviously was some changes to be made, and I feels like they certainly delivered on continuing their sound but still evolving it in a way that is interesting and feels like a natural progression, because this LP had obviously a lot of folk and post-rock elements. This one even more so, including more jazz rock elements of their debut. On this one here, we've taken the folk sound, we've taken the post-rock sound that we know and love from Ants From Up There, but we've added some kind of like chamber pop, chamber folk, art pop elements that feels very similar to what Julia Holter was doing on the record Have You in My Wilderness from the early 2010s. Incredible record, by the way. If you are a fan of this sound, you want more of this kind of tone, Have You in My Wilderness by Julia Holter. Just want to shout it out real quick. Check it out. That is a great record. Kind of feels like a Ghibli film in music form. But this one here, Forever Howlong, I've got to say, kind of continues and feels like it takes influences from Holter, like I said, but also the Beatles. I would also say Neil Young, George Harrison, artists of that time that were playing with the more kind of strings elements, because this record does have a strong emphasis on string arrangements. I've seen people say that, it feels like on their debut album they just discovered jazz instrumentation and brass instruments. If that's the case, it feels like on Forever Howlong they just discovered the strings section, because this thing is very string focused, as well as focused a bit on the woodwinds as well instrumentally. Just has a nice classic old timey feel that feels like a blend of like an old country perhaps, as well as a medieval kind of blend, as well as like I said earlier, those influences of classic female literature that were focused more on the female perspective, such as Little Women and Emma, a lot of Jane Austen's work. Just love what we're hearing. So many influences, so many styles. I feel like the more I listen to this, the more it will grow on me. Some pretty heavy tracks too. Nancy Tries to Take the Night is perhaps the heaviest track they've ever done thematically. Just very emotional, focused on the concept of abortion. Should she keep it? Should she abort, perhaps? And then also dealing with themes of suicide from the loss of this child. Very taboo subject in most circles, and it feels like they do it quite tastefully, quite wonderfully. Just a great track. For the Cold Country, probably my favorite here, but I loved Happy Birthday as well. It was very emotional, very hard-hitting. Two Horses was fantastic. Great storytelling on that one, especially. Perhaps, again, the female perspective, focusing on perhaps the reliance of a man and the kind of old ways, kind of negative effects that can have. Just a great LP. And Besties, as well as Goodbye, Don't Tell Me, I feel like bookend and open the album in a way that is very interesting, because they parallel one another thematically. This sort of perhaps unrequited love is what I'm gathering. At least Goodbye, Don't Tell Me seems to suggest that, whereas Besties feels like this woman in love with her best friend, but can't quite subject her friend to that confession. Just a great album through and through. Great themes, great concept. Loved what it sounded like sonically. I feel like there aren't many records that feel this close to it. Again, closest I can think of is Julia Holter's Have You in My Wilderness, and even that is still pretty distinct on its own. So I love it. I love what I'm hearing. I love this progression. I can't wait to see where the band goes next. 3 records in, and all 3 records are so different from one another, yet still feels like it has the DNA of the band. So Black Country New Road, fantastic. Love the record. That does it for today's video. If you like the video, please hit like and subscribe to follow along and listen to more records alongside myself. Also, if you really enjoy my content and you want even more of it, check out my Patreon. You can watch this video completely unedited, the full reaction, as well as every other video I've done on the channel from this year forward. I'm going to put unedited videos for $5 only a month. You can watch unedited videos, and higher tiers will obviously grant higher perks. So go ahead, check that out. It's in the description down below. But, as always, my name is Randy Joe. I appreciate you watching. I had a great time listening to this one, and I'm signing off.